Good morning. Thank you for meeting with me today. I know getting back in the swing of things, it's hard to make time to sit down and schedule a meeting, so I appreciate you guys being here. One thing I wanted to visit with you about is supervision and direct supervision. When we are working in a school day, we have students, we have discipline issues, worried about curriculum, we have testing, we have new students walk through the door that we're trying to feel welcome in our school. But it is very important, and it's a priority of mine, that the teachers know that we are there for them and that the students know that we are there for them. And one way that we can fulfill that commitment is through observations. So I wanted us to gather today so that we can all get on the same page in regards to direct supervision. To begin, when you are working with teachers, you will find that some teachers love an observation. Not very many. Most of them are a little fearful of it. They feel like you're coming into their classroom. They may be a little threatened by you trying to pick them apart or make sure they're doing the right thing. That is something that I would like for us to eliminate in our teaching strategy and our relationship with teachers. So I remember my first observation. I was 32 years old, and I walked into the classroom. It was a calculus classroom. I did not take calculus in high school. It was a calculus classroom, and the teacher had taught for 47 years. So she was old enough to have taught my mother and my grandmother. And here I was, a first-year principal, and I'm supposed to observe her. The end of the story is the observation went great. She was very respectful of my role and wanted some feedback. So let's just get started on what I find important so that we can be on the same page. First, the pre-observation conference. You can choose whether or not to conduct a pre-observation conference for teachers that are on a term contract. Most of our teachers are on term contract. Now that we are a district of innovation, we do have more teachers on probationary contracts because our district agreed that we would allow anybody new to our district to go on to potentially a 3-year probationary contract. So we do have less term, but we do still have term. Those teachers on term contract, you can decide or not if you want to do a pre-observation conference. Teachers on a probationary contract, I would like for you to do a minimum of 1 pre-observation conference per year. And this is separate from their T-test observation. This would just be maybe you want to introduce yourself, you want to get to know the teacher better, you want to see how their classroom is managed. And every teacher on a probationary needs that. We especially want to, I'm going to say target, I don't really mean the word target, but I'm going to say target our brand new teachers. Being a teacher is making that transition from student to teacher is hard, just like making a transition from teacher to principal is hard. So hopefully by having a conference with them, we can eliminate a little bit of the stress because we can lay our goals out there. In a conference, these are the things that I discuss, and I think it would be good for you to discuss. Some instructional strategies. How are they getting things across? Are they a traditionary stand in front of the class and read, I'm going to lecture to you, you're going to take notes? Is it that? Are they big into group work? What are their instructional strategies? Let them be aware of what they're doing. Also, their classroom management. When I go into your classroom, am I going to see students up walking around the classroom because that's the kind of learning atmosphere you have? Am I going to see students sitting on the couch? Are the desks and chairs in a row? What is your classroom management? Maybe you'll go over presentation techniques. Do you use Google Classroom? Are you a teacher that likes to use the whiteboard, or can students access it through their technology? Are they one-to-one in your classroom? Also, the learning climate. I want to know what kind of learners you have. Do you have to raise your hand? Do you need to answer a question? Can we just blurt out answers? Don't say blurt out. That sounds kind of negative. Is it an open discussion forum? Can they answer questions on their own? Do you want feedback? Is the class rowdy? Is it very subdued? What kind of environment? What is the climate of the classroom? And also, if the teacher has taught before, I want you to glance over their observation from the year before. And if you notice any deficiencies in the last appraisal, ask them what they have done to improve those. For example, maybe you have a teacher that had poor classroom management, and you are asking them, what kind of professional development did you attend? What have you done to eliminate those classroom disruptions? Or how have you changed your classroom environment, teaching style to adapt to students that may be a behavior problem? Anybody have questions over that? Okay. Would I do, honestly, I would, this is your first year, I would do a pre-observation conference for every teacher that is on my observation list, at least one time this first year. And then after that, it's sort of up to your discretion. But for as far as the term contract employees, your first year, yes, I would have one conference with them. Great question. So, classroom observations, they need to be frequent. If we're going to eliminate that awkward gap, the negativity that comes with observations, we need for them to happen more. We need for them to be a common occurrence. That way, teachers aren't nervous when we're in their classrooms. Students aren't nervous when we're in their classrooms. Perhaps students are acting the way that they do every day when we're in there more often. When you're in the classroom for a walkthrough, for an announced or unannounced visit, whichever the case, if you're in there, you need to collect data. I don't want you to just sit and visit with students and take part of the lesson, play a game, and not get anything from it. I want you to collect data. This afternoon, Ms. Thomas is going to work with you over Eduphoria, and that's the system that we use to observe teachers. We've used it for years. You may have used it on the classroom teacher side. Now you'll be using it on the administrator side. It took a little bit, and it's come a long way, but finally we're there. There's an app you can use, and you can use it on your phone, on your tablet, or on your laptop. It's very easy to log into. I like it better on a laptop, to be honest, but sometimes that can be a little distracting because it seems very formal. So most of the time I'm on my tablet. If I'm doing a walkthrough, it's usually a tablet. If it's a little more formal and it's maybe their t-test observation, or perhaps it's a teacher that I'm wanting to get more stringent feedback on, I will use my laptop. Rarely do I use my phone. It's little and I can't really see it, but the tablet is my first choice. When you are going through the data, I want you to analyze it to see which practices the teachers are using are effective. You're going to have to think like a principal and not like a teacher, but sometimes that teacher brain comes into place. When I first started doing observations, I saw a lot of journal writing and teachers using journals. And I thought it was really unique in the math classroom how much journal writing was going on. And so I really documented that, made it a point. And then in post-conferences, I went back and we analyzed what the data had done. And in fact, in the math classroom, vocabulary had shot through the roof, understanding of vocabulary, because students were hearing it, they were writing it down, and they could review it. And sometimes the teacher would let them use their math journal on a math test. And if they had examples or they needed understanding to clarify that vocabulary, then they have it. Also, I want you to analyze how we can improve student behavior and student performance. Are the techniques that the teachers are using, are they positive to promote student behavior, positive student behavior? Is there something that we can analyze there? Again, these can be announced or unannounced. I think both are a good style. You can do an informal announcement. You may email your observation group and say, I'm going to stop in through this week, and that be all the announcement you're going to have. You can tell us teachers specifically, I'll see you on Wednesday. I am a fan of the unannounced. I think that's when you can get some good teacher feedback, good classroom feedback. And sometimes I need it on a student as well. I need to know how they're learning. I need to make sure they're being attentive in those classes. By frequent, I would like to see your teachers formal, announced or unannounced, once per grading cycle. Now we're on a 9-week grading period, so you only have to get 2 of those in per semester. And of course, anybody that's on the bubble that you're not seeing positive results from, we want to step that up. Anytime you go into a teacher's classroom, you need to have a post observation conference. And in this conference, you're in charge. It is not a teacher necessarily being in charge and explaining to you what they saw. You're going to state what you saw. You might ask for some clarification, but this is you. And if you did hold a pre-conference, you need to provide feedback from the pre-conference. So if you asked a teacher, what am I going to see when I come in your classroom? And they say, well, you'll see students, my tables are arranged in 4s and pods, and you'll see students working together. And then when you go, you see the desk in a row and students quiet and working by themselves. You need to address this. This is not what they said you would see. You might ask, why? Is it a student behavior issue? Were you not getting positive results? But you may ask why. But remember, you're in charge. If you witnessed a strong observation, I want you to try to implement, I call it a sandwich method. You're going to say something good. You're going to say something that needs improvement, but you're going to end on a positive note, a specific positive note to the observation. Sandwich. If it's a negative observation, if you saw things that were not a positive to our school, to our students, to the teacher, those, and feel free to come visit with me if you have an issue, but those, we want to make sure of a few things. Only bring up what you observed in that classroom. For example, Mrs. Harrison is late for work every day. Don't bring that up, and this is not the time. You're only bringing up what you saw in the observation. Mrs. Harrison, I noticed that the objectives were not written on the board, and you told me in our pre-conference that you write the daily objectives on the board. I would like for you, Ms. Harrison, to work on this, and I would like for it to be done over the next week. So I want you to give them a timeline for improvement. Don't say, Mrs. Harrison, I want you to get this done. No, I want you to be specific. Mrs. Harrison, I'm going to come into your classroom again within the next 10 days, and I would like to see improvement on this. And with that, I want you to make it a priority to observe them again. They deserve it. You deserve it. Our teachers deserve it. If a teacher has a bad or a negative observation, they want to make it right. A teacher that is strong and wants to be in our school and is in it for the right reasons, they want to make it right. Now, sometimes it takes them a little bit to work through it and to not find the negative in it. But ultimately, we are here for the teachers and we're here for the students, and we want to make teachers better. We want to make them, they want to feel welcome and better educators in our school. And in doing that, a positive and a productive observation can give them the tools they need to make themselves better educators.